Still learning this Zoom thing. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our student panel. I think we've called it Meet and Greet with Education Students, which is basically exactly what it is. So today we have a few of our current students. So we have Francine, who's here from the Education Students Association, and we have two education mentors, Kyria and Faith. And then we also have two recent graduates. Did Diana? Oh no, she's here. Diana and Tasha. Yeah, you all just disappeared from my screen, but that's fine. So there's lots of people you can ask questions to, whether it's about your experience, their experiences in the program, experiences looking for jobs, field experience, all that kind of stuff. Before we get started with questions, though, I'll maybe start with having everyone do a quick introduction about themselves. So I will start with Francine.
All right, so hi everyone, my name is Francine. I am a fifth year secondary education student at the U of A, and my major is social studies, and my minor is teaching English as a second language. And fun fact about me, I actually can't really conjugate or get pronounced right because my first languages are Mandarin and another dialect, and he, she, it sound exactly the same. So if at any point my conjugation doesn't make sense, you know that's why.
Perfect. So next I'll go to Faith.
Hi guys, so I'm in my second year of a Bachelor of Education in the secondary program. My major is English and my minor is Social Studies. And then I'm an education mentor, so I have two mentees who are in their first year of education right now.
Perfect. Kyria.
Hey everyone, I'm Kiraya. I'm in my fourth year of secondary ed. My major is math and my minor is general sciences. I'm also a mentor. I have one mentee, she's in her first year. And yeah, welcome.
Cool. Tasha, one of our recent graduates.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tasha. As Erin said, I recently graduated. I graduated from the elementary ed program, and I am now a teacher in the Peace River School Division.
Perfect. And last is Diana, another recent grad.
Hi everyone, my name is Diana and I graduated from the Faculty of Ed in June of 2019. I had a major in biological sciences and a minor in chemistry. And last year was my first year of teaching. So I taught science 7, 8, and 9, as well as KME and social studies 7. This year, I am also in a junior high setting. So my role this year is as a dedicated replacement teacher at my school. So I am there during this COVID time in case any teachers do get sick, or if anything were to happen, I am there. And I also do work with groups of students. So I have a schedule with a group of students that I work with for math help, reading help, whatever they need. I was also a education mentor when I was in the Faculty of Ed. So I had a student that I mentored that was a transfer from the Faculty of Arts. And so she wasn't new to the university scene, but she was new to the Faculty of Education. So I got to mentor her.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. I guess I'll start off just in case anyone has any burning questions already. I'll give everyone a moment to maybe put them in the chat, or you can put your hand up and I'll call on you if you have a question for any of our panelists yet. I also have a lot of questions, so I can get it going. I'll also note that I just got a notification that my internet is unstable. So that's a good sign for a Zoom meeting. Okay, so if anyone does have any questions as we go along, feel free to put them in the chat like Michaela has just done. And we can just go through them and my questions kind of back and forth if you'd like. So the first question is, what does the U of A focus on in their education program? What would you say defines it? Does anyone want to take a shot at that one?
I can speak from my experience in first year. So there's three, when you enter into the ed program, there's three first year courses that you need to take before you can move on into third and fourth year. There's Ed 100, Ed 210, and Ed 211. And from my experience in those classes, I'd say something that defines the ed program is a focus on building relationships. And so that can look like building relationships with your peers, focusing on how you're going to build relationships with your future students. And then it's a lot of deep work into focusing on who you are as a person and how you're going to bring yourself forward into a classroom, and kind of defining your personality in a way that is going to make you a good teacher. I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I also think that on top of that, by the way, Faith, you nailed it. That was really great. On top of that, the faculty of ed at the U of A also try to, I would say, like facilitate educators who are really up to date and really know how to come up with a diverse range of like strategy to engage students to really make sure the content makes sense. So from my experience in my what's the word? The practicum courses. So before we go out to teach as a student teachers, we do take certain courses in order to prepare us for it. So during the time when I was taking those courses, I really learned that building relationship is a really important piece, but there are so many ways for us to do that. And there are also so many different technology and strategies that can help us to like transfer what we know to students in a much easier way to be understood. So there are a lot of cool things, and I highly recommend you to come to U of A.
Perfect. Anyone else want to jump in?
I'll just say I agree with Faith and Francine, and it's a very immersive experience. So right when you start from, let's say, Ed 100, which is usually your first education course, you're already going to be doing, let's say, role play scenarios, whether it be with your classmates or on your own, reflecting on that. You do that throughout your whole time in the Faculty of Ed. I'd also say you get a lot of experience planning and building lessons. So the Ed 210 technology course that you take, for example, you get to really try out what is out there and to build your own lessons that you could teach and use for your future classes. And same thing with what I said with Ed 100, you do in your NFX classes as well. So you're doing a lot of role playing, you're doing a lot of scenarios with your classmates, and also your instructors are really, really helpful in providing you with their own experience as well. So that way, when you do come out into the field for your IFX, which is that first taste that you really get, you feel a bit more relaxed and you can kind of expect what's going to happen.
Excellent. Okay. I guess we'll jump to the next question. I'll start with an answer for this one. What would you recommend that I take in high school to become a grade 1 teacher? Also, what mark should I aim for? So if you haven't already popped over to our Faculty of Education booth, all of our admission requirements are in one of the resources and publications that you can just download and get into that little green backpack at the bottom of your screen. But we do need English 30-1 no matter what. And then if you're wanting to do elementary, we do also recommend that you do math 30-2 at least, or -1, because you'd be taking a couple math courses in the program. And we also recommend that you aim to have as high of marks as possible, just because the competitive averages can change throughout the year based on the applicant pool. So also applying early helps. Do any of you have any particular high school courses that you did find useful to take before elementary, or I don't know, what do you folks think? For some of you, that was a while ago, so including me. But yes, hopefully that answered that question. Anyways.
Sorry, Tasha, did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, for high school courses, if you're doing elementary or looking to do the elementary route, obviously you're not really doing chemistry or physics or biology with the kids, but really having like your social, your science, like as a general is a good thing to have. But a lot of it's really your math and your English are those kind of two big things, mostly because they're the hugest focus in your with your little kids, because that's where you're working on is their numeracy and their literacy.
Yes,
So, yeah.
exactly. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I would just say I know it depends on the size of your high school, if these programs are offered, but I took AP English in high school. And I only did that because I love English and the class size was small. But if you write the AP exam, it does, some courses can transfer over to university credit. So I got a 4 on my AP exam and I didn't have to take a first year English course, and that saved me $500. So if you have the opportunity to take an AP course, I'd say do it, because it not only prepares you for kind of what university is like in terms of workload and essay expectations, but it can also help you out in the long run by giving you that kind of out of a class.
Perfect. Okay. Our next question is about becoming an art teacher. I was told I have the option to either get an education degree with a major in art or do a BFA and then 2 years of education for 6 years. Will the option I choose affect my likeliness of employment or pay? And what are the other pros and cons? It will affect likely your place on the salary scale because it's based on your years of post-secondary and teaching experience. But having said that, if you're at the 4 year mark, you can always come back and take courses. I guess just to start the conversation off, I guess if you do the BFA first, you would be getting more courses in art. So you could probably use that extra specialization to your advantage. But even if you just do the 4 year program, you're doing at least 12 courses in art for your major. So it's kind of whatever fits your career goals best. Tasha or Diana, do you have any thoughts on your opinion in terms of like you finding jobs and talking to school boards?
I would say from my own experience, they don't look at whether you have 4 years or whether you have 6 years or how many courses you have, because again, those are things that you can do as you go on in life. So if you want to pursue a master's, if you want to take more courses in arts or whatever the case is, you can definitely do that. It does influence your salary. So if you have 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years usually, and again, those are things that you can build up. What they will look for from the employer standpoint is more your experience, let's say volunteering with different organizations, or maybe during your IFX or AFX, you started like an art club or something that you did to engage the students and to immerse yourself to just get more experience working with youth, working with groups of kids, working with adults, just to have that that relationship, to have that background in planning, to have tried different things. So that's more what they're looking for, not so much you have X numbers of years of education. They want more experience.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
she
point.
got that. Exactly it.
I also have something to add on it, if I may.
Yeah, for sure.
So, a friend of mine actually went for the similar route of the 6 years. So they did history degree first, like so they earned their first undergrad degree, and then they went for like an after degree in ed. However, it does affect your pay in a way that so right now, even though he has 6 years of education, he's being paid on the 5 year education grid simply because certain courses that he has taken in his first degree did not directly apply to his teaching. So, like when you're taking the 6 year rule, it's gonna right off the bat, you're gonna be making a bit more money, which is always good. But when you're doing that, just make sure that the courses that you have chosen in your undergrad actually does apply to your teaching degree later. That will help you to just start off a higher pay grade. And also, like everyone said, how many courses you have taken doesn't matter too much. It's the experiences that matter the most. So if you feel like you want to start teaching right away, you just can't wait to become a teacher, then the 4 years one is also a good choice too.
Absolutely. Cool. So if anyone still does think of questions, feel free to keep putting them in the chat. But maybe I'll start with Francine. If you could maybe give us an explanation of what the ESA is and what it does for our students.
Absolutely. So ESA stands for Education Students Association. Basically, this is a student-led association for every student and the faculty of education. Wow, I just said education so many times. And, and basically, what we do is within this organization, we take feedback from undergraduate students and then we report it to the higher up and the faculties. So, for example, recently, Education Library, due to budget cut, has to be shut down. And we had conversation with people who are in charge of the library and who made the decision to make sure that, okay, now we understand that this is something we had to do, but how does it affect education students? And we move on from there. So in a way, we're kind of like messenger and we pass the message back and forth, but also we do lots of fun things. So before pandemic hit, sometime you find people giving out snacks inside education building. We will do that. And because food is also very important. And we also host like social events, but right now the social events are hosted online because of the pandemic. And what else do we do? Oh, ATA. So Alberta Teacher Association actually work really closely with ESA. So they will organize PD training and ESA will be the one to host them. So during your time at the university, you can attend like free professional development session to like get more knowledge, to write them down on your resume. And they are actually really, really useful. And also just like come pop by the what's it called, the social events, because we do have prizes all the time. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Next, I'll get Faith and Kyria to explain our mentorship program.
Okay, I can start. So our mentorship program is wonderful. It's my second year doing the mentorship program. So it's pretty much we as the mentors help you as first year students to transition into university smoother than usual. We help you with, if you have any questions about courses, we can help you with that. If you have any like club inquiries, we can help you with that. We can show you around if we were in person. Show you where your classes are. We're here as an ear if you need any help, as just a friend. We could be your first friends in university. So we really enjoy it. So
The thing that was helpful, so I was a mentee in my first year, and it was very helpful for me, especially because I live in Calgary and I was coming to the U of A. It was not home to me. I was living in residence. And so having a mentor for me in my first year was super helpful because I didn't know what campus looked like. I didn't know where my classes were. It was pretty scary. And so the mentorship program is just a really great way to ease yourself into the program and to make some friends within the ed faculty. In my personal opinion, ed is the best faculty and we get along with pretty much everyone else. Like we can hang with the science kids and hang with the arts kids. And so it's really nice to have those connections within the faculty.
Excellent. And basically, when you're in the faculty, you're studying alongside all of your future colleagues, essentially. So that's kind of the neat thing, in my opinion. Next, I'll go to our alums, and maybe I'll get you, Tasha and Diana, to tell your tale of finishing your program and finding a job? Because it's probably the most asked question, like, how do I get a job? How does it work? All that kind of stuff. So maybe share your experiences.
I'll start, I guess. So for me, I always kind of knew I wanted to be a teacher. So I was always doing things where I was involved in schools or working with kids. And so for me, that was a really big thing of mine. So in university, was volunteering in 4 or 5 schools throughout my 4 years. And I was getting involved so that I could get opportunities. And so then in my 4th year, the U of A puts on a career fair specifically for ed students, actually. And so we get a whole bunch of different school boards and schools that are looking for teachers. And pretty much you can go there, you can put your resume out there, you can talk with different schools, see what they're looking for. So I had actually went originally in my 3rd year university and just started asking questions. What are you guys needing? What are you looking for? What kind of things will make me stand out? And so in my 3rd year, they told me we're looking for people with these extra experiences. So actually in my last year, I did what the U of A offers as an additional placement. And you can do it either as early childhood, or you can do a special needs one, or you can also do an outreach program type one. And so that's something they were really looking for. And so I did that course. And then I went back in my 4th year to the career fair and I was handing out my resume. And I actually ended up getting a job from this career fair. So I had given my resume to Peace River, and that was back in April. And lo and behold, in May, I got a phone call from a school here and they were like, we would like to interview you. So they interviewed me. I got a couple of different interviews along the way. However, this is the one I chose to go with. And yeah, so it really, really requires you to take the time to get out there and get experiences.
Good point.
So for myself, I'm currently here in Edmonton and I'm teaching with the school district here in Edmonton. I actually did my IFX and my AFX for the same district that I work for, which is also the district that I was a student for myself. And I knew that I was open to, going wherever, but I knew that I wanted to stay within my district because I had my own teachers that they made the difference to me when I was a student, and we really formed a connection. And so for me, I wanted to do the same thing to my own students, to my own future students. So I did my IFX and AFX for my district. And what happened was I was keeping connected with what the district was doing with student teachers. So they would email us with, if you would like to apply to the district, that you need to get it in by this deadline and so on and so forth. And so I applied to my district at the end of April, which is when I finished my practicum. I then was interviewed and I got on the sub list right away. So I subbed even before I graduated. I subbed for May and June of 2019. And because I subbed, that actually opened me up to other job opportunities that would come up for the following school year. And so with my experience doing my student teaching in the district, with other volunteering that I had done within the district as well, I actually got the call the day before my convocation. I was actually on U of A campus, and so I got the call that I had my job for the following year. And so that's where I taught junior high science and social last year. And so with that being said, because I was open to other opportunities as well, but I knew where I ultimately wanted to go. And so I kept in touch with the district and what they were specifically looking for. I would, call them and see if there were any additional requirements or courses that I needed. So that's another thing. If you do want to go somewhere specific, keep in touch with what they're looking for. But if not, then, you're open to other opportunities as well and other courses that, other districts might want. I would also say that, again, going back to the relationships as well, that's the relationships that you form with your students and your IFX and your AFX is really what strengthens that desire to become a teacher and to want to continue down this pathway. So I've really enjoyed working with my district and the PD opportunities that we do have, the different events that we have at our schools. And so it's just been a great journey overall.
I like that timing that you got it the day before convocation.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
we have
just-
an.
Wait, I want to add quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking about it. I didn't mention this, but jumping on what she had said about subbing and getting in kind of in the schools that you've done your practicums, I knew, and I still do, I would still want to be in Parkland School Division. However, I went where I had the opportunity, and Parkland had actually offered me subbing before I had even convocated. Like it was back in February. They were like, yep, we want you on our sub list. And so I had actually done my AFX there, and I had requested to do my AFX in Parkland. So having those connections too, to kind of know where you want to be district wise, like when you're done, and seeing if you can get those connections within the schools, it does you a world of good. Yeah.
Agreed.
And not only that, just to add on as well, I did sub within a few schools, but principals talk to each other. And so when they see, oh, this person has applied to this position, I see that they've been subbing a lot. So, what are they like? And so they really like to see that you are getting yourself involved, that you're coaching during your AFX, that you're stepping right in. And if you can get started subbing, they love to see that. So they do talk with each other and see what kind of a person you are right away. So if you can do that, then definitely take that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely don't be afraid to go on the sub list. It's a great jumping off point. And I think a lot of school boards only hire from their sub list for permanent contracts. So good points. Okay, so we have a question in the chat. Can I go straight into the secondary education program right after high school? I was also looking at becoming a French teacher. Would applying to the education program at Campus Saint-Jean campus be more beneficial? If I apply to that campus, do all my high school courses need to be in French? Before I take a shot at that, do any of you have any French knowledge by any chance? Okay. Perfect. So I can talk from my experience of talking with school boards. I mean, French is probably the most in demand skill set when it comes to teaching. A lot of school boards will need French teachers. So if you have that fluency, that's a big plus. The main difference between our program and Campus Saint-Jean's is that Campus Saint-Jean's curriculum in their program actually is designed for students that want to specifically be a French immersion teacher or teach in Francophone schools or French as a second language. So if that is your main goal, I think it would be good to consider that program over ours, or consider applying to both. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the admission requirements for their program will be different than ours. So just make sure maybe you go pop into their booth after this and talk to them about what their admission requirements are, and then just compare. But if you do our program, you can major in French, or you don't even need to do the program in French. Every school board is a little bit different in what they're looking for from second language teachers. So some will just do the interview in French. Some want you to have a French major. Some want you to do the DELF exam. It really depends on the school board. I have heard school boards that can be picky do take Campus Saint-Jean grads first because that is what their curriculum is designed for, but it is usually quite in demand. So I hope that kind of answers that a little bit. I would do your research about both basically. What questions should I ask myself when choosing between the 6-year route and the combined degree? Ooh. How many of our panelists, are any of you after degree folks by any chance, or you're all 4-year? Okay. Cool.
know people who like have taken the 6 years route, if it counts.
Yeah, if you want to take a shot at this, for sure.
I can give it a try. I hope you're happy with my answer. Um, so after, because that actually did cross my mind before, but after talking to my friends, I feel like one of the first questions that I will ask myself if I start this all over again is probably gonna be like, do I like a subject enough for me to spend 4 years on it first and then to continue to go for a teaching degree? Because for example, this person that I'm friend with, he is very, very a big fan of like history and anthropology. So what he did was he did a 4 year degree first, and then that also led him to actually go digging in Japan to like try to find fossils and stuff. It was really cool, and he has had a lot of knowledge in the area. Then he moved on to secondary education, and he's really happy about the decision. But let's say if you are less certain about your enthusiasm for a certain area, then maybe teaching will be a good way to go, just because if you change your mind in the middle, you can always like take extra courses after. But if you just feel like, oh, you know what, I actually maybe don't like this as much, right outside, like right after that degree, you can already start teaching and start making money and start like making your dream come true. So I think that's the most important question to me if I were to ask myself.
Yeah, that's a good answer for sure.
I agree with that. I was kind of in the same boat as you are, Michaela. Or I don't know if you're in this boat, but I know for me, when I was actually applying to U of A, I was so caught between a Bachelor of Arts major in English and a Bachelor of Education major in English. And I think the question that I asked myself personally was, what do I really care about and what matters? Because at the end of the day, you're spending 4 years in this degree and a lot of money, honestly, on it. And so you're going to come out of it with a degree either way. And so if that degree is in something that you're very passionate about, say if it was English for me, or you could come out of it with a teaching certificate where you get to pass that passion on to the kids that you're teaching. And that's what I ended up going with, is because I love English for myself, but I love it more getting other people to be passionate about it. So that's something that I would really interrogate with yourself.
Also, I think you should point out, like, think about what you want your combined degree to be in, because combined degree is specific to certain things. So what your major is, you have to think about it. Is it going to be a possibility to be a combined degree? So
Yes, you should be an advisor. you're, you're answering all these questions perfectly, because that is something to keep in mind. The combined degree, there's only certain options for that, and then if you're doing the after degree, you can basically do any degree first, and then do the after degree afterwards. But both will give you that extra specialization, essentially. So that's a plus for a lot of people. Tasha and Diana, do you have any thoughts on that? How you chose your program?
I was just going to say, when I was in high school and I was starting to apply for post-secondary, I was thinking about whether I should go into the Faculty of Science or the Faculty of Ed. And so I talked to my teachers and a career advisor that we had, that was my biology teacher at the time. And I just talked to her about what the difference was. So I talked about, is there any advantage in terms of hiring? No, not really. Doesn't matter. Is there a difference in salary? Well, yes, there is. But in terms of employment opportunities, it's equal. And so I was really intent on starting my teaching career. I wanted to start, and that way I can, you know, work closer towards getting my permanent teaching contract. And I knew that I wanted to stay as a teacher, and I still want to stay as a teacher. So for me to get my foot in the door and to start my career was my main goal. And now that I am in this position and I have started my career and I'm in my second year, now I have opened the door to other opportunities, like if I do want to pursue a master's or if I do want to take extra courses. So definitely think about if you are more of the person that you want to get your career started, you want to stay in education, or if, maybe you do want to have another degree just for more experience, or, for if you pursue other career opportunities in the future. But salary might make that factor for you as well if you're thinking about that. But other than that, in terms of job opportunities, it's equal playing field. So yeah.
Cool. All right, we have another question from Michaela. She's thinking drama. And right now she's leaning towards the 6-year route, so I can really dive into it. Because I don't have a whole lot of theater experience, so I can be very comfortable in it. That's a good point. If that feels like the most comfortable route for you, I think that's super fair. And that is one of the ones that can be a combined degree. So if you want, I can include, let me just find the link on the calendar. You could compare the courses you'd be taking with the 5-year program versus what you'd be taking with a Bachelor of Arts. So you could also just compare that and see what the differences are. But yeah, that's what a lot of people do. They want to get that extra intense experience by doing that first degree. So I'm just sending the link, and that will take you right to the drama ed combined degree if you want to see the courses you'd be taking. But it's very structured, the combined degree, whereas the Bachelor of Arts is probably going to be a lot more flexible for you. You can probably have more choice in your classes. I'd ask Arts about it just to make sure, but that's probably going to be the main difference.
Michaela, sorry, just something to think about as well. I don't know if it's as applicable to the drama program because I'm not in it, but my friend is in her 2nd year of she wants to be in theater tech. And so it's a very small program and there's like 12 people in it. And that program is a little bit harder because of COVID. Obviously we don't even know if our classes are going to be in person in November. So with going into drama, I would just think about how an online experience would maybe affect your decision because we don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. That is
And
true.
just a little like last note to that, because a friend of mine, she is actually in drama, but like the combined degree. So I don't know how your commitment or workload might look like, but what she does is she actually teaches like dancing, and then she also does a lot of like choreo for like different people. So that's how she get her drama experiences, even though it's not completely the same. But she also tried to like join, for example, student clubs, etc. So if you feel like you might have free time on like just outside of school, that could be one of the option too. Just want to throw it out there.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Okay, we have another question. They want to go into educational psychology. Would they go through Faculty of Arts or Education? And if both are possible routes, which one is the best one? That's a very good question. I guess one thing to keep in mind is that the Bachelor of Education is in line with certification requirements. So that's going to be a huge plus versus a Bachelor of Arts. And like Faith and Diana were saying, a Bachelor of Education is preparing you to be in the classroom, but you don't have to be in the classroom after you graduate. A lot of our graduates go on to do many different things, including becoming a school counselor or just going into counseling in general. But another option would be to do a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Education afterwards, and then do educational psychology afterwards as a master's. You might even be able to get into certain psychology programs with just the Bachelor of Arts. It kind of depends on what your goal is. Have any of you considered psychology or know anything about this?
I personally considered going into psych. I still don't know what I'm doing exactly, if we're being honest. But I did take a psychology course in my last year, and it was kind of like an introduction to just counseling in general. So it was kind of a good course to take for me, at least because I'd taken a psychology class in high school, and I absolutely could not stand it. It was like I hated it. But I did find that the one in class was really good at the university. Um, but personally, like I think if you like personal opinion, if you were to go into child psychology, I think I would want the elementary ed route because you do a lot of courses on educate or not on educational development, but on childhood development and um, like you can take courses on communication disorders and looking at different aspects of how kids grow and develop. Like you're going to have kids in a counseling course where you might have a child with ADHD or a child with autism. And so to have kind of that background knowledge that you get from an education degree would probably really benefit you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. If you're specifically wanting to go into educational psychology, there's going to be a lot of benefits.
Yeah, I was thinking like there are specific courses that we take in our third and fourth years that are for educational psychology, and I believe that they're restricted just for educational students. So you might not be able to get that opportunity in arts, but it all comes back to your choices.
Yes. Either way, I would talk to arts as well, just so you know what their program looks like, and then compare it with ours, just so you know what you'd be taking in both, and just in case there is something really of interest to you in the arts program. Okay. One thing I wanted to ask everyone about is if anyone has a favorite thing about campus life. I know we're all virtual right now, but we'll be back soon. And I want to know if there's anything cool you wanted to talk about, a club or study spot or something like that.
Actually, one of my favorite things about a study spot and education while on the campus, it's just like I will try to find an empty classroom inside of education building, and I would just study there because usually, if you're lucky, you can find a room with big windows and with a projector and lots of desks, so you can like put everything on the tables. And you also got whiteboards, so you can just brainstorm on the whiteboard. If that is not enough, then you can brainstorm on the like computer in the room too. Then you write things down on your laptop. So like that is one of my favorite things to do when I need a quiet space to study.
That sounds lovely. If you can't think of a campus life thing, I also wanted to ask what everyone's favorite class was from their degree.
Okay, I have one for the campus life.
Okay.
So I actually met my best friend at my new student orientation back like 4 or 5 years ago now, and we ended up becoming friends, and we created a ritual. So every term after all of our exams were done, we either went to the two on campus bars. So we would either go to Rat or Dewey's, but we'd get the sweet potato fries, and it became a tradition. We've done it every year, except for, when lovely COVID hit, so we couldn't do that. But favorite courses wise, I've had some really cool ones. Like I did a class on classic fairy tales. So we got to like dive into how Disney has totally made them all like flowery and princessy when they're really not. And like I've taken some really cool ed courses too, like on special needs, and my social course was really good, and I took a counseling course. So I've done a lot of different ones, and they're really good.
Cool. For me personally, when I first started, when I was in my first year, I was really, really scared of going and exploring campus just because I was really worried about getting lost. So I had specific pathways that I would travel, and it might be the longest route to get to CSIS, for example, but it was the only route that I knew. And so a day or two, I just took time to just go around and explore campus and take these pathways and just to see where I would end up. So definitely I would recommend that. Don't be scared of campus. You get to definitely see what kinds of resources are around, what kinds of nice study spots like empty classrooms or libraries, things like that that you can find out by exploring campus. You know what? where everything is located, even for future classes, and shortcuts, which you definitely need when you're going from CSIS to ECA. That's like the longest possible route that you would have to take. But by exploring campus, you get to find out those different routes. My mentee and I, when I first met her, we went on a big tour of campus again because she didn't explore a lot of campus before. So we literally just walked the grounds. I took her through the Ed building and showed her everything. So yeah, I would agree with Francine on the study spots, though. You can find empty classrooms that are really nice and quiet. And my favorite all-time study spot was probably the St. Joseph's College Library because it was so quiet. So I would always go in there, and there's a nice little square area that you can go and study. Course-wise, I would say that my field experience courses that I took for my IFX and AFX were my favorite. Again, just because they were preparing us for what we were about to do and about to implement, and trying out different scenarios. Like if a student is showing this behavior, how would you react to it? And we as classmates would act them out for each other. So that was really nice because then when we get into the classroom, it wouldn't be as scary because you go, oh my gosh, how would I react to this? And another one is Ed 210, the technology course. I love that because I was not so technologically advanced when I first started taking that course, and I'm still not, but I got to familiarize with myself with a lot of different types of technology. And so when it came to COVID, shutting down our schools back in March, I was actually, since I was a new graduate in my school, I was actually sending a lot of my staff like, hey, look at this, we can record our screens, when we need to record our lessons or try this virtual lab. So I was sending them a lot of things that they started to use as well. So those are my favorite courses for sure.
Excellent. Anyone else want to jump in before the next question?
I can just say a quick thing. I don't know how many of the people here are not in Edmonton, but if you are looking at maybe coming to campus and living there in your first year, I was in residence and it was probably the best experience of my entire life. So you get to be on a floor with about 40 other people. Obviously, it's different because of COVID. Hopefully, things change by next September if you guys are coming. But yes, and then along with that, we played dodgeball competitively. And I know that's so nerdy, but it's like a U of A thing. The Lister Dodgeball League is very well known. And there's opportunities to participate in dodgeball outside of living in residence. So there's normally things called like Campus Cup. Oh, and what's the other one? Oh, Dodge Fest is the other one. But yeah, so outside of residence, there's a bunch of really cool things that you can do to get involved on campus, and it's really scary, but I would definitely recommend it. I miss campus with my whole heart. I'm in Calgary, and it's sad times, but it's okay.
Can I add something really, really quick?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So my best memory on campus is like all the little moments I've had when I was volunteering. Because, for example, I met Dasha when I was volunteering, and I can't believe I call you Dasha. I know your name is Tasha. I'm so sorry. So that like during volunteering time, there's a program that I volunteer for 4 years, which is a week of welcome, and that's where I met my best friends. And like like just getting yourself out there and volunteering gives you a chance to run into people on this big campus, because the campus is really big and scary, but imagine just walking down the hallway, all of a sudden you see a familiar face. And for me, like sometimes just sitting in the students union building stressing out about my papers or my exam, and all of a sudden I see a friendly face and that face come over and give me a hug, and everything just feels so much better. And if you ever have a chance and you're interested in social justice, I highly recommend you to take courses with a professor called Alex Da Costa. So I don't know, I don't remember the exact courses that he offers, but like when I was in his classes, he really respects people's different opinions, and then he would like take your comment polish them into something so smart that you didn't even think that something came out of your mouth. And it's just always a really good interactive learning process. So if you're ever interested in it, take a look at his classes.
I've heard a lot of good things about his classes. And it's true, the campus seems really big, especially when you're looking at all the different booths in virtual open house and how many students are on campus. But honestly, once you're there and you start getting involved and taking classes, it becomes so small, and you make your own little community. It's like a little city, but you can basically be involved with whatever you want and find out what you want to do with the rest of your life and what you're interested in and what you're good at. So it's I love university, as you can tell. We have another question from Brianna. She's curious. She wants to be a chem teacher, math as a minor, but she also has experience in music and cosmetology. Would she be able to be a teacher in these areas, even if they aren't her major and minor? The answer is yes. Basically, what you're picking as your major and minor, that's what you're going to be taking a lot of coursework in. And we do place you in your major for student teaching. But I don't think I know anyone that only teaches what they taught as their major and minor. You can use everything at your disposal, all of your experiences when you're applying for jobs. Diana, I think you were hired with something that you weren't the major minor in, right?
Yep. So, Brianna, as long as it's something that you are comfortable with, so if you have experience in music and cosmetology that you think that you're comfortable with and that you'd be able to teach, then definitely you can pursue that. Like I said, I was a biological sciences major and a chemistry minor, but the job that I ended up getting last year was to teach science 7, 8, and 9, but I also got social studies 7 as well. And also to add on to that, like I said, my role this year, I've taught literally every single class in my school. So I've taught about 500 kids so far, but I've taught math, social, science, language arts, phys ed. I've taught foods and fashion as well. So if there are things that I'm comfortable with, I can definitely apply to those. A teacher that I worked with that was a foods and fashion teacher, actually, she was also not a major and minor in foods or anything like that. But because she had experience working in the restaurant scene for many, many years, and she had a lot of experience in it, she applied to the job because she felt comfortable. So she got it. And yeah, as long as it's something you're comfortable with, then definitely you can do that.
That's good. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I know, not from personal experience, but I think throughout your career as a teacher, things are definitely going to change as you gain experience and you realize what you like teaching, what you don't like teaching. For example, like my mom, her bachelor's, she's a teacher as well. Her major is phys ed and her minor is math. But she's been the learning leader of her like special education program at her school for the past 10 years. And she didn't get a bachelor's in teaching special needs, but that's where she ended up. And so I think being a teacher means being flexible and being open to maybe teaching things that you didn't think you were going to when you started out.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on that technically, like when you graduate from the education program, you are legally allowed to teach any grade, any subject. Of course, if you've been trained for an elementary degree, they're probably not going to put you in a 30 level course, but you could easily teach junior high still. So yeah, that's just a thing to keep in mind too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're really flexible in where you're willing to teach, like if you're willing to go to a rural area, it can be a lot easier to find a job like Tasha. And or even in the city, there's been a lot of K-9 schools being built, and that can be a little trick to get in, because if you're teaching grade 3, they're going to know you. Like others have mentioned, principals talk, they'll know what kind of teacher you are. So there's no reason you can't go and teach grade 7 in the same school, right? So very flexible. We do have about 5 minutes left. So if anyone has any last minute questions, I'll get you to put them in the chat. But I will end with one of my questions. What was my question going to be? What would you tell yourself, like your grade 12 self, now that you know so much more knowledge now?
For me personally, I would say that don't be afraid to go out there and to try new things. And for me, like I graduated from a very small school, not as small as where I'm teaching, however, but like I had 21 kids in my class. So coming to the U of A was like already a daunting thing for me. And so for my first year, I really cowered and like kind of kept to myself. And finally, kind of like after I got adjusted, I kind of realized that like I can go out and I can do things and I can interact with people and I'm able to do those things now. So I ended up working like multiple open houses and talking with people, and I did the week of welcome. So I got to meet new students. And so just kind of not being afraid to go out and take those opportunities that come, because I really kick myself for not doing week of welcome sooner. So yeah, just like go out there and try things.
I can totally relate to Tasha. So when I first started university, I was frightened, to be honest with you. And like I said, I was really scared to go and explore campus. I was nervous to get involved in different groups. And it really took a lot for me to tell myself, okay, I need to step out of my comfort zone and get comfortable. The interactions that I had with my fellow education students in my classes definitely helped with that. And so when I was reading the newsletters that the Faculty of Ed comes out with, I saw the one that had the mentorship program. And so I was like, you know what, this is my opportunity to develop more of my leadership skills, to share my experience with another student. So you really have to jump onto those opportunities. And getting involved with the mentorship program like Tasha, I also got to help out with open house. I'm still getting involved with the Faculty of Education and sharing my experience now as well. And so you really have to step out of your comfort zone. And being able to do that early on, if you could do that in your first or second year of university, even though it is a big change, is really going to help you in the long run when you start to get into the schools, and you can build clubs within your school with your students. You're willing to coach sports teams. Like I coached basketball and I coached badminton. I ran student council. So developing those leadership skills when you can in university and early on is really going to help you in the long run, and being open-minded to whatever comes down the road for you. So yeah.
We do have a couple of questions coming in too, but I wanted everyone to get their last thoughts in for advice, if anyone.
I can respond to one of the latest question. And
Mhm.
so I am like being trained to teach high school, so you're not alone here. But yeah, it's just like somehow when we start actually teaching, we don't know what life is gonna throw at us. So I'm trained to be in secondary education, but I might end up in elementary. We will see. It's like a big surprise. And if I were to say something to my grade 12 self, I would say I'll probably tell myself that there is a lot of support and opportunities out there, and I just need to try to find them. Because I remember trying to volunteer. So I remember trying to like find different opportunities, but I didn't really know how to. But Google is a great tool. We can start from there, and it almost feel like once you open one door, everything is just there for you. I have never ever met a situation when I ask for support from a professor, whether it's about office hour or have them to look over my assignment, and then they said no. Like all the professor I've met have been super supportive, and there's so many opportunities, whether it's about scholarships or getting involved, all that stuff. Like there's a lot of things that university get to offer. So look for them. They're there.
I would say ask for help. Student advisors like Erin over here are fantastic. they're here to help. You can ask any person that you see down in the hallway of the Faculty of Ed. They'll probably be able to help you with anything that you need. We're people that like to talk. Personally, I'm a big talker. We're pretty friendly, I think. Just ask for help. Everybody's in the same boat. Take it one day at a time. Connect with others. Make lots of friends. Yeah.
Good advice.
And then I would say, especially in first year, don't be stressed. Just, I mean, like, it's okay to be stressed, but kind of try and let some of that go. And I wouldn't focus on marks too much, because while marks matter, they shouldn't be your sole focus. First year, and your entire degree is about making friends and making those connections with other people. And at the end of the day, your marks don't define you. And I know that's something that was stressful for me. And so rather than spending your Friday nights like holed up studying, try and relax a little bit. Don't take things so seriously.
Mm-hmm. And Brianna has a good last question, since you're all such active students or former students. Is it hard managing being in a sport or club while doing education?
I feel like it also depends on your personality and your workload, because everyone will be different. For me, I know that probably two different things is my capacity on top of full course load. I know that if I keep on like adding more, eventually I'll just drop the ball on everything. But I also know people, they're like president of like two different clubs. They're working like almost full-time hour, and then they're taking full course load, and then they're also like participate in like 4 or 5 different clubs at the same time. So everyone is very different. So it's really up to you to see how much you can handle, and don't take on too much, because you always need a little time for yourself.
I want to speak to that too. Education, the programs are really great actually, because a lot of the times the schedules are quite flexible. I'm pretty sure since second year, I had at least one day where I didn't have classes that entire day. Because education, like just the way the system works, you can usually get away without having classes one day. So that helps. I was a super busy bee. Like I said, I was in my last year, I was volunteering in 2 classes. I was in a practicum, I was in a full course load, and I was doing 2 jobs. But that's also just my personality, but it does take a lot of organization and openness to talk when you're feeling overwhelmed, because it can be a thing that happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds good. That was a good question, good advice. Since it's 6:02, I guess I will end our panel. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you to the panelists for all of your wisdom. I wish I had a panel that I could have attended before university, because that was all very helpful. And like I said, this is recorded, so we'll probably get this on a YouTube channel or website soon. For future viewing. But everyone have a good rest of your night.